Welcome, everyone, to our chemistry meeting online. This is our third meeting. Today is Thursday, April 16th, 2020, and we are now recording. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jen Wetham. I'm the Program Administrator for Faculty Development at the State Board for Community and Technical Colleges, and I'm really excited to see everyone today. So for our opening warm-up, if you haven't had a chance to yet, if you could type into the chat, when it comes to transitioning your chemistry course online, what have been your wins? And what have been the challenges? And also, I'm interested in discussing too, if other folks are interested, what are the challenges that are coming up now? Are these new challenges? Are these old challenges that persist? Or are these challenges kind of adapting? And we'll talk a little bit more about what I mean by that. I'm just admitting a few more people into the room. Welcome, everyone. It's really exciting to have all of us here today. So for today's meeting, I put together a quick agenda. And while you're typing into the chat, I'll just go through. So again, I'm kind of hoping that we can start with a check-in, talking about our wins, talking about our challenges. I was hoping that we could also do a review of the Canvas shell and folks could take a look and see what's in there. And also, if you have shared something to the Canvas shell and you're on this call today, I was kind of hoping that maybe you might take the mic and share a little bit about what you posted. And maybe, I know Gary was mentioning to me that he's found some of the things in the Canvas shell very useful. And so I was hoping that, people like Gary could tell us, this was useful, here's why. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about next steps, and I have more specific agenda items within there. Before I go any further, I'm just wondering if there's anything that's not on this agenda that you were hoping would be in this agenda. So you can either take the mic or type into the chat, or you can just write, yes, this agenda looks good, but just does this agenda feel like it will make this hour of your time worthwhile today? Okay, yay, good. Thank you. Okay, excellent. This makes me happy. Okay, cool. All right, so if you change your mind and you want to add something to the agenda, just type it into the chat. And so let's move into our first wins and challenges, and folks have been typing into the chat, and I'm wondering if folks would be willing to take the mic and let's just hear from a couple people, and you could either share a win or a challenge. So go ahead and just take the mic and take it away.
Hey, Jen, I thought I would start off by just saying I practice the Zoom breakout rooms, and I'm Jenny from Bellevue College, by the way. I know some of you in here. And it was really fun. And, the students don't want to show their faces during the Zoom session that I'm having in the main room. But when they get into these small groups, it's been fun to see them reveal themselves, and I get to see what they look like. And then they're more willing to ask me questions in the small breakout rooms also, which is great. A challenge with that has been getting all the students sort of talking to each other when they don't all have a microphone. So they're using the chat boxes, and that's been good. Also, like as the instructor, I try to navigate between the various breakout rooms, and sometimes there's like 7 or 8 rooms. And so does give you this cool feeling of being teleported from room to room though, which is really cool. And then one challenge I've been having, and I wonder if others are having successes with office hours and just sort of navigating. I have all my students going to a Zoom room for office hours, and they just have to sort of take turns, and they're all in the same space. And I have OChem 1 and OChem 3 students in the same space, and just making sure that they're not getting confused, just sort of waiting for their question. So I don't know how others manage office hours, but that's something that I've been working with or thinking about.
Jenny, thank you so much. And I think I'll open up the floor and say if people have comments, pats on the back for Jenny for figuring out the breakout rooms. That's super cool. I know Kaylin's writing into the chat. She's experienced the same thing. But also if folks have, it looks like Marie, you're ready to take the mic.
Yeah, I had the most awesome office hours yesterday for my Chem 163 class. One thing that I did is I published separate office hours for my different courses and made them pretty formal, because originally when my class was scheduled as face-to-face, I had like an 11 o'clock class for my 163. So I kept my office hours just for a half an hour during that 163. And I had one student email me about an hour before the office hours started, and she said that she can't put her thoughts together on camera and she feels a lot of pressure on that. So she typed out like 4 questions that she had, and she emailed those to me before the office hours started. So I was able to get my thoughts together on how I was going to organize my technology to screen share and do whatever I had to do ahead of time. And then also those students, they just dived right into the content, and they had really well articulated questions. And it was probably one of the best like discourse that I've had during an office hour with, I think I had 18 people attend it.
Wow.
It was pretty good. I was just really jazzed about it when I was done, because they had listened to, they were in different stages of listening to the recorded lectures and were just asking a lot of clarifying questions. It was good.
Marie, that's super helpful. Thank you. And thanks for responding. And Gary, are you raising your hand? Do you want to say something about office hours?
Yeah, well, yeah, one of the challenges I'm having is sometimes I'm overwhelmed with the material I find online and things like that. And it's like, yeah, which would be the best way? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I spent a lot of time doing this and not, getting some things actually together as quick as I would hope to. But I'm making a lot of progress. That it's a challenge, but getting there and enjoying it actually.
I'm so glad. That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying it. And thanks. And folks are typing into the chat as well about some strategies that they are using for office hours. So maybe we could just continue to talk about office hours, wins and challenges. What else do people want to say about how they're handling office hours?
Yeah, I'm in the process of learning Zoom and that, so I haven't really set up anything yet, but hope to get there. And I think I've had some students email me back going, when are we going to have some Zoom meetings, and get together? So I'm getting there.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So I'm seeing that Charles, you have a win for your office hour. Do you want to take the mic and share with us? Oh, Lee, I'm sorry. So Charles and then Lee?
Lee can go ahead. I think I pretty much said what I wanted to in the chat there.
Oh, perfect. Okay, Lee, take the mic, please.
Yeah, I'm assuming you mean me. I think everything is going pretty well. I guess I'm kind of doing a flipped format. I have as much asynchronous as possible to accommodate people's kind of weird schedule. So we only meet one time a week synchronously, and that's totally me just working problems. So, and they're loving it. They really, really like it because they get a full, we never get to work problems for that long in a conventional setting. So they're liking it. And then office hours, I'm just doing Zoom. I have a waiting room set up, seems to work well. You get the same issues with one person dominating the whole session. But other than that, it's just been pretty normal office hours just via Zoom. And that's it. I don't know. Seems to be going well. I like it because I get about 20-30% of my grading coming in throughout the course of the week. And because I'm doing sort of like a significant amount of my quizzes and stuff is like automatically graded, I can actually grade homework really closely, and I'm getting them to submit Cornell notes for the readings and the videos that I'm publishing, and I can actually make comments about how they can improve those notes and stuff, and sneaking in their comments about how this is a useful study guide, because you don't want to be reading the book all the time. You want to just be having good notes. So that's a lifelong skill that I'm feeling really positive about being able to get them to develop. And I would never be able to read that stuff normally, and I'm really liking not all the quizzes coming in at 4 p.m. on Thursday and then spending the whole weekend trying to get them done. So the labs this week, and we'll see how that goes. I don't know how that's going to go. So no one has submitted a lab yet, and it's it's near the end of the week. So I'm predicting disaster. We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. I'm nervous. I sent them an email this morning saying I'm nervous about the fact that no one has submitted a lab yet. But we'll work that out when we get there. Yeah.
Lee, that's a great attitude. And also, is that Mordor behind you?
Yeah. Last week was the moon. This week's Mordor. I think it's going to be Disneyland next week.
Oh, that's genius. I
They're
love
putting
it.
in requests for the background, so that's fine. I'm happy to accommodate.
Thank you, Lee. Thanks for sharing. I really,
No problem.
yeah, that's awesome. And Suki has raised her hand. And also, Suki, you did post a very important question to the chat. How do you volunteer to speak? And so Jenny wrote either just take the mic and go for it, or raise your hand. So you have raised your hand. So let's do this.
Okay, so I had a big win this week with technology in that I learned to connect with both my computer for my face and my iPad for my whiteboard. And so it's an Apple Pro, so with my pencil, I can work through problems as if I was on a whiteboard in the classroom, and then save each of those images and upload them into Canvas for them to look at later. And I'm also recording my Zoom, and it took me a while to figure out how to load those into YouTube, so got that now. But the whiteboard thing with my iPad is it's really cool. It lets me answer their questions, write down problems, do them with them. So the getting the students to respond, though, when I ask a question is still a challenge. That's it.
Suki, thank you so much for sharing. And also thanks for modeling raising your hand. I think that's a great way to go, but I'm also fine if people just take the mic. One thing that I'm seeing as we're talking about office hours, there's a couple things I'd like to bring to the chat attention, or something in the chat I'd like to bring to the collective attention. So it looks like some people are struggling with students dominating class. And I'm wondering if anyone has strategies that they could share about how to prevent, or protocols or norms that you can set to prevent domination. So if folks don't have strategies,
I do.
yeah.
Sorry,
Oh. Hi, Tara.
I have 6 breakout rooms, and one person is assigned to be the spokesperson for the room, and I can roll a die. So then the spokesperson for that room. That's in class, not in office hours. But anyway, that's something to make sure that I'm hearing from everybody.
Can you say that one more time? I cut out just a smidgen. Sorry, do you mind just repeating that one more time? What's the strategy?
No problem. So it's, whoa, shush. Sorry.
You're okay.
It's what I do in the classroom. I usually have smaller groups, so like 6 4-person groups. And that's the same number of people I would normally have in my class. So I have the breakout room. So there's 6 breakout rooms, and I can have them all go out to the breakout room, discuss what they think, and then when they come back, I roll a die.
Oh,
and then
interesting.
That breakout room is the one that their spokesperson answers my question.
Oh, thank you. That's excellent. That's a great strategy.
Makes it fun.
Thank you, Tara, for volunteering that information. And Marie, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, so I did something that was pretty fun, and I think that you modeled it for me and gave me the idea of, I write at the beginning of the office hour, I give them a prompt that says, did you come to this office hour with a specific question that you're hoping that I'll address? And I have them type it into the chat, and then without pressing enter, and then do the, okay, on 1, 2, 3, everybody push enter at the same time. Then I can look through the chat and I can find some common themes, and then just look at them all at the same time.
That's a great idea. I like that modification of saying like, hold your chat, 1, 2, 3, boom. That's kind of fun. I like that. And thanks for sharing that strategy. So another thing that I'm seeing in the chat that I think is really important, and I'm just going to highlight it quickly, about FERPA concerns for saving and uploading Zoom to public virtual spaces. And Sharon, this is from you. So there are FERPA guidelines, and I have been kind of like lurking on the e-learning council's chat to kind of find out what the protocols are. And so I think I will try to find those again and share them with folks. But if you do have questions about FERPA, your e-learning person is the person to ask about. So, and so I'm seeing that there is some suggestions about, for example, making your YouTube channel private, so only allow certain people in. I do think if you are putting, I know that if you are putting like several classes in Zoom together, it's important to let students know that, because normally their FERPA stuff would be, FERPA stuff is the technical term, their privacy would be theoretically guaranteed by, you know, like, I teach this class at 10, you're in the 10 o'clock class, I teach this class at 11, you're in the 11 o'clock class. So I will find the technical documentation from our e-learning director and see if I can boil it down. But again, after you create the recording, another strategy is to just keep it in the Canvas shell for that course. But again, just letting students know that that you just be transparent with them that that this is how you're organizing it. And I feel like I wish I had prepared better for that question. So I see that Priyanka has her hand raised. Go ahead.
Actually, Jennifer, you already shared that. What I wanted to say was, for us, the e-learning has requested, or something that I am doing is, before I start recording my lecture content, I ask everyone no video, and I ask them to mute themselves. And then I ask them to write all their questions on the chat. And in Zoom, we have various options where we can control as to what goes into the video.
Mm.
And once the videos are created, which are really short, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, or even shorter, I pause the lesson. I can pause recordings and then deal with the chat questions and more, and then re-record. But I do let students know, as well as in the Zoom, I have added an option where an announcement is being made that the recording has started, and they accept it. So trying to avoid students' faces there and letting them know that there's a recording going on, so they mute themselves, as well as having these recording posted in or available only in Canvas, a secondary layer of safety, and passwords too. So that's what I have been doing.
And your answer is very specific. So I really appreciate hearing how you specifically are doing this, like pausing and, you know, pausing the recording is a great idea. You know, just I think you've given us a lot of really great technical strategies here. Thank you for that. Something else that I learned from our e-learning director is to make sure that after the recording has started, say, we are recording. I didn't know that. I haven't done it for everything, but so I think I'm just going to take a sec and just look through the chat and see what other kind of big themes are emerging. Otherwise, if folks want to just take the mic and just share, is there a different kind of win or a different kind of challenge that folks are hoping to get feedback or insight on? Go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this. It's like, I think that, you know, people need not be nervous about speaking up about what they're having difficulties with. And also when it comes to sharing assignments, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be a guided inquiry. It doesn't have to be tilted. It doesn't have to be super proofread and stuff. And I think we could still be doing a lot better on the sharing of things. And I think there's a lot of nervousness about having something go out there and have your colleagues read it when it's not perfected. And I don't think we need to be concerned about that. And I think there's probably some simple stuff as well, is people may not know how to share assignments. It's actually really easy. You can just copy it to another class with a few clicks. So I think those two things together, people are like, they don't know how to kind of really making things a little harder than what they need to be for us. I think we could do a better job of working together. And I've kind of thought that right from the beginning. There's a huge amount of effort that went into our Canvas shell, but it's not necessarily where we need it. Like, you can see that because and what's happening is the state board have done a great job, but I think we are perhaps a little nervous to share our stuff. So just kind of, be aware of that. It's okay. It doesn't matter if it's full of typos or whatever. Other people will work on it, and it'll be okay.
Lee, thank you so much for sharing this. And I just want to say thanks for taking the mic, voicing this. And also, Marie had just posted something to the chat about, I'd like to discuss how lab development is going and what people have shared. So
one of the things I'll say is a challenge is keeping an eye on my chat, because my students really love to communicate via the chat in class while I'm trying to lecture, and stuff like that is hard for me in general. Like, you're doing it right now, right? But when I've got 48 students sitting there, it's really hard to do that, to keep an eye on the chat while you're talking about stuff. So it's easier to see somebody raise their hand in a physical classroom than electronically.
It's super hard. And I just want you all to know, like, I've been trial by fire here, and also I think I forgot to invite Lucas and Alyssa to this meeting. So they're not here right now. And so I'm kind of like, oh, okay, I can do this. So one thing that I would, so I have a couple things here. So Jenny wrote into the chat, we're talking about summer quarter going online. We know it's a big possibility, and we're considering changing our staffing to allow people who developed an online class teach the same one. And for big departments with lots of people, you have to work in advance on this. And I did want to say to folks that what I am hearing is that we might be shut down, until, not shut down, we might be offering remote options until winter quarter. Like January might be a realistic starting point. And so to that, I would love us to be prepared. And Lee, I think what you're saying about the Canvas shell becomes even more important. And so I guess I don't know quite right now how to do a check-in about feeling vulnerable. But I know, Lee, when you were talking about people maybe feeling like they were nervous about sharing things, that Suki, you wrote into the chat, you're feeling the same way. And I wonder if you might indulge me in just one story. I was working with the Institute for Systems Biology. Lucas Myers was working with me as well, and we were asking faculty to bring assignments. And we, over a course of a year, so we had, and some of you were involved in this project, so fall quarter we met, winter quarter we met, and spring quarter there was a workshop. And so folks were bringing assignments. And I got all these emails kind of the night before about, like, my assignment isn't ready, I'm really sorry, but I'm still gonna come because I'm hoping to learn. And then once people saw what other people were sharing, like, suddenly, like, everyone was like, I have an assignment to share, I have an assignment to share. And so to me, that made it, it hadn't occurred to me that faculty might feel nervous about sharing their assignments. And duh. So Lee, thank you for sharing
There's
that.
a flip side to that, is that somebody that has an awesome assignment is often the first to share. So then it becomes intimidating. It's like, my assignment doesn't look like your bells and whistles, Technicolor, technological marvel, so I'm not going to share mine because it looks kind of ordinary. Do you know what I mean? So I think you just have to kind of go out there. And I also think, I'm not certain that people know how to share assignments between different Canvas shells. They may just not know how to click those few buttons to make that happen. It's really easy. There's just a drop-down menu, and you just copy to, and you just bump it over to where you want it. And a 30-second video showing somebody how to do that might help, So
yeah, and we have some resources from the state board, so about how to do it. But I'm wondering if it would be useful for us to just show people how to do it. One thing before we go any further, Kaylin Owens has some interdisciplinary investigations, and Kaylin, yes, 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 yes. Pretty pleased with sugar. Please, please, please. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing my screen for 1 minute. Oh, I don't need to, I can just move this real quick. Okay, so this is our chemistry faculty community of practice. And I would like to, for folks who did post things to it, if they would be willing to share what they did. But before that, before we talk about that, Lee, I'm wondering if you would be willing to share your screen and just show folks how you upload things or download them to the Canvas shell. Do you mind doing that? I just made you a co-host and you are muted right now.
Okay.
Sorry to put you on the spot like that.
No problem. I'm gonna share my screen now.
Woo, thank you.
Okay, so what we should have now is my assignment. It says Atomic Emission Spectroscopy Lab. I think it's already been uploaded. And then I'm just going to hit on this drop-down menu, copy to, and then over here I can just put in my course that I want to copy it to, and I had to scroll down to find it, and there it is there. And then I'm going to be able to put that into a particular module, which I won't do because it's already there. Okay, so it just takes a few extra steps after you've made your assignment to share it to everybody. And that's what we've been doing. And you can see, if you look over here, it says I've got one in my account. And when I go in there, it says shared content. And that's because Katie, my colleague, has shared this activation energy lab with me. So I can also send it to a person, and that's really cool, right? So we've been, and you can see that we've been firing labs backwards and forwards between each other. Okay.
This is really cool. And before you stop sharing, I'm just wondering, are there any questions for Lee about the technical aspects of sharing things from your Canvas to the chemistry Canvas shell?
Hi, this is Kaylin. I have a quick question about that.
Thank you.
So I understand how to share an individual assignment, and maybe I've just made things too complex and I can figure out a way to simplify, but the interdisciplinary investigations that I've created is more like a page of content that then has multiple links to multiple parts of the project that they submit along the way. So it includes multiple assignments. I would describe it as that. And so maybe it can be simplified, and I've just overdone it and overshot here, but that's the situation I'm in at the moment. And what I've been doing at my own campus is I've been placed in the Canvas shell of about 5 different faculty, and I'm just building out their sections as well with these assignments, with specific interdisciplinary investigations. So I don't know if that's not the most streamlined way to share. Any suggestions would be great.
Lee, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I would kind of, if it sounds like you've got a bunch of different assignments, I would just put them up there and people will be able to take what they want from it or what they need from it and edit it and make it their own, I think is how I've kind of, how we've taken sort of the approach of sharing stuff, I guess, is we just kind of put it out there and make of it what you will. And, and that's what I've been doing. I just wanted to say one more thing before I stop sharing my screen, is when you do go to share it, you can send it to a person, and you just put their, if they're in your list of Canvas contacts, you can send the assignment to an individual person, which is how Katie was sending me those assignments, and then they pop up in your account over here. So that was something that I forgot to mention.
Lee, thank you for that.
No problem.
Kaylin, are you, is the concern that it's built on a page and so you're just not sure how to share the page? Or are you concerned that like sharing the page with all the stuffs on it is just going to be overwhelming and confusing?
Yeah, the page I think is pretty self-explanatory. It's just that it links out to multiple assignments. I don't even know if you call them assignments, just pieces of one big assignment, but the way I'm using Canvas is maybe more complex than it needs to be. So I can kind of think about that from a sharing perspective. I could maybe think about how to simplify that.
The other thing that you could do, if it's comfortable for you, is we could either work with like Kathleen Chambers or your e-learning folks and ask them to help us figure out how to share it. Or you can add Bo Young Che or me as a teacher. And then we could help you kind of figure out how to share it, because we're definitely interested in helping faculty share right now.
Okay.
Also, if Kathleen helps you upload it to the Commons, if it is uploadable to the Commons, that's another way to do it, to just upload it to the
Okay,
Canvas.
I'll check into that. I've just, yeah, my process
Had a
of
lot
sharing.
on your plate.
Well, yeah, and my process of sharing on my own campus was just to be in their classes because I'm building out a lot of the labs. So anyway.
This is great. This is great. And thank you for being willing to share, and thanks for sharing the technical questions. So I see Marie has her hand raised and Suki. So I'm just going to say Marie and then Suki.
So I'm having similar about how to share, and I had a few ideas, and especially when it comes to sharing with you folks on the COP, and part of, I guess, is just knowing I've been putting things into the files. So I created a file folder under the topic. And what I did is I just dropped the links of the documents that within my Canvas shell, how I did it. And then I made another document that just had a screenshot of how I built that Canvas course. So that only took me like 5 minutes or so just to do that, instead of trying to upload things to the Commons and then download. I'm just a little overwhelmed with everything. And I don't know if that's a helpful thing for people to see, or I don't know if that's a good way to share that. And within my campus, what I've tried to do in the same kind of way to share because I am finding that I'm getting that same thing with, I'm building out pages that link to things. So it's not just as simple as giving people a document. But what I did is I invited people that are in my institution as instructors into my course, but I gave them their own section that's called instructional team. Mm-hmm. And then that they can't interact with my students, but they can see all my content. So then they could do an export and import of a module per se, or the files, however they say fit. So I don't have to, I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit much to ask me to moderate other people's courses and make sure everything's getting in there.
Yeah, right? Oh, for sure. So maybe what I'm thinking is some of these things are outside of my expertise, but Alyssa and Bo Young are highly skilled in this. They're my colleagues at the state board, and they're in no way interested in, like making more work for folks. And so I think they could probably answer some of these very specific questions with, just very easy solutions. So what I would say is, if you do have things that I think maybe I'll ponder this, but if you do have things that are ready to go and can be just easily uploaded to the Canvas shell, then just upload them, and Lucas and I will figure out where they go. So that's another thing. If kind of people just are struggling with like, where should it go in the Canvas shell, Lucas and I, if you just upload things that you think would be of use, Lucas and I can figure out where they could live on this particular resource. Suki, what would you like to contribute or add?
It's kind of a follow-up combination. I put it in the chat, but we kind of have a disconnect because some schools are doing atoms first and some are doing chemistry first. And so content for 161 and 162 can vary between institutions. So for example, the lab that we just looked at with spectroscopy, we would do that in 161 because we're doing atoms first. So I'm wondering if we could have a shell for the 160 series and then have modules by topic instead of having separate courses.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. And I guess I'm just thinking about the way that biology has sort of evolved. Like they have a separate Canvas shell for micro, a separate Canvas shell for AMP, a separate Canvas shell for the majors sequence, a separate COP for botany, a separate, like they've just had different different shells. And so if folks are interested in that, I'm happy to just create different shells, but we can link to shells within the shell. It gets very metacognitive. So I think that I'm glad we're recording this so we can talk through this. So
yeah, it sounds like Katie just said that she thinks the module just says general chemistry. I thought it was by class number, and I haven't been in there since the beginning. So yeah, I think having a shell that just says general chemistry and then having topics within there would be a lot more useful across the board, because we do it in different sequences.
yes, and also having sat in on a lot of these conversations, it does feel like by topic might be interesting. And in future iterations of this work, like I'm really hoping that these COPs set a foundation for major STEM communities of practice past COVID-19. And it does feel like, and I feel like Anthony, who's in this conversation, Anthony Smith, that there are some concepts that kind of run across, and I feel like I'm starting to learn what those concepts are that run across different disciplines. So Marie, do you still have your hand up, or do you have a new? No, okay. I'll lower your hand. Okay. So it's 11:40, and so one thing that I'm wondering is I would like to show folks what's in the shell. And again, so for me, this is kind of older. I spent some time just kind of getting a basis up. And then here's our first meeting materials, our second meeting materials, and I will upload the meeting materials from today with the recording and then the chat. So is the person who posted the community building in the room right now? I'm just trying to see if it's available, who posted. I think, is the person who posted this in the session right now? I think this is from the first conversation where people were asking about the 4 connections. So this is some 4 connections material. So Erin Gibbons from Seattle Central also posted this lab and lab report. Erin, I don't think you're here today. Is the person who posted the Chem 110 activities in the room by chance? So this is the Chem 140. Oh, Lori Centuri at Green River, are you on the call today?
Yes, I am.
Do you want to say a few words about what you posted? And thank you for posting.
I posted a pre-lab, a lab, and a post-lab. The pre-lab and the lab itself are both Canvas quizzes. The lab itself generates data for the individual student, so each student gets their own data for each of the penny sets. And yeah, so the lab is just they're looking at, pre and post 1982 pennies and the density and composition of them. So any questions about that?
Yeah, thank you. Any questions? Just to repeat what you just said. Any questions for Lori?
140 is general chemistry prep. So 121 is the intro chemistry. So we have used the density, this penny lab before in 121, but we usually bring down the rigor of the math calculations and the post-lab questions a little bit for the 121.
And I'm seeing in the chat the difference in the course number is what's sort of providing the disconnect, and that on some campuses 139 has a lab, 140 is the same as 130. Okay, I see. Okay. So I'm seeing what's happening in the chat. Okay, so yeah, go ahead.
Where are these found at, located?
So this is our shared Canvas shell for chemistry. So, and I'll just say really quickly, so this is my dashboard. And right now, the STEM COPs are my highest professional development focus. So you can see, like, when you log on, I prefer the tile view, and then I can kind of like move things around. So right now, the best way for me to do it is to prioritize the STEM COPs and then have them in alphabetical order. So that's how I'm doing it. And then let's get back into the chemistry shell. And so I set up the announcement page, like, so this is something that I wrote for a front page, and then I have it so that the announcements, and also some folks have been just posting announcements, which I think is great. And so I have it set so that the top 3 announcements show up when you log on. And then, so here's the modules right now. And Suki, we can totally change the modules, especially based on what folks are posting in terms of content. And I appreciate that feedback that maybe by course isn't as useful as maybe by concept or topic. So Marie uploaded files for the equilibrium lab, but it's not in the modules, and you're wondering if you hid it too well. Good job. Good job hiding it well. One thing that I would say, for folks who are organizing things as files, I do think it's better to do things as modules, even if it just has like 1 or 2 things in it, because like when I look at files for the course, it's not necessarily super intuitive as an organizing factor. So Marie, what did you post again? You posted, can you give me a keyword? Where are you? Can you unmute yourself for a
Yeah,
sec?
I can unmute. So I put it underneath, where did I put that? See, it was not intuitive for me of how to put that. I put it under 163 labs.
Oh, okay, great.
And then determining the value of an equilibrium constant. And then I just thought, well, okay, those are the 4. So I put in 3 documents that are needed to do the lab, and then a OneNote document that explains how it all fits together.
Okay. Let's see. Did you say you put it in 163?
So I didn't know we could upload a module. I didn't see a way to upload a page. I just put it in the files under, yeah, I didn't know that we could upload a module. Can we upload a module?
You may, you can, yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, so even if you just upload the module and just have it in there, Lucas and I can go through and be like, oh, okay, that's where this can go. So feel free to upload.
How do you upload a module into this course? Because we're students in this course, yes?
You're actually teachers.
Oh.
I made everyone teachers. So let's see. So if I wanted, yeah, go ahead.
I didn't know that, so that'll change. I could do that then.
Thank you so much. And again, you know, like, we're all learning together. I don't I feel like I know enough about e-learning to be dangerous. And so basically whatever you upload, Lucas and I will work to to make sure that it's organized in a way that makes sense to folks. And as we continue through this, we'll figure it out. So, and Suki is writing some good suggestions in here about prep, intro, GOB, general OChem. So all of the feedback are really helpful. One thing, Tommaso, you posted a different community building exercise, and I'm just wondering if you have capacity to talk about that right now.
Yeah. So.
And hello.
Hi, how are y'all?
Good.
Sorry, my video is not starting, so you'll just have to look at my boring still picture. Yeah, this is exciting. I'm just sort of taking this as a chance to really learn about how to do online education. I was reading through to get ready for this, the How to Engage Online Learners book, which I found really useful. It had some very practical activities to use. I just did a discussion thread. So I don't know if you can see it on the Canvas page because I just shared it today. And I dumped it at the top there. So it should be the first thing that pops into the community building one, or maybe it didn't show up. Yeah, introduce
Right
yourself to the
here?
class. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll open that.
And right now I've gotten some really good discussion posts from students and whatnot. And it's a combination of a personal card that I do. So the first 1, 2, 3, 4, those first 4 bullet points there are what I would have them put on a 3x5 index card that I keep for my own reference to learn their names and to understand what their objectives are. And then the last part there was something to try to build community and make things a bit more personalized. And it's a combination of 2 exercises that were in that book. And then the last bit there, and it's kind of an attempt at tilting, so you kind of see a little bit buried into the purpose and how I'm going to grade it. Was trying to avoid the sort of first post gets all the replies syndrome, which I've seen in discussions, or the last person to post at the last minute, their post is never seen by anybody else because they posted at the last minute. So I tried to build in this 36-hour buffer to make sure that people post up early before the deadline, and so that everybody's post can be viewed by folks. And then I'm going to use this basically to maybe build out my groups as people. So people who replied to each other, maybe I'll put together in groups for their group projects and whatnot. So that was my motivation behind all of this. And I'm happy to get any feedback since I'm a total noob at this online thing.
Or just praise, or we could just praise you for your design, because I think that's a really interesting way to solve some problems of practice with discussion threads. And I also really love the way that you are maybe going to use this for ongoing to help the students form groups. I think this seems really thoughtful and useful. Thank you for being willing to share this. Just because we don't have a lot of time, otherwise I'd like to spend more time and invite people to give you more feedback. And also I'm a gateless writing coach, and I taught writing for a long time. And so a lot of times I think it's just good to just tell people what's working, and there's a lot that's working. So that's what I would love to do if we had more time, is just have everyone tell you what's working about your assignment. So, okay, so we've got Chem 110. We've talked about the pennies. These ones, for Gen Chem, is the person who posted, Lee, are these yours? Is the person who posted these available to just say a few words?
Yeah, I think these are a mixture of me and Katie. They may or may not be perfect. We know that we decided to update the data on the rate of chemical reaction lab because we just wanted the lab to run for a longer period of time to make it easier to analyze for the students. So this was a classic, like, first pass, get it out there, and better to have something out there than to just kind of hang on to it. And so yeah, we just posted what we've got so far. I think a couple of them are using one of them's using a Jove video, but not quite. The other one's using a simulation, and the chemical periodicity is using some YouTube videos that Katie found. So yeah, there's I think you've got the atomic emission spectroscopy lab that we've got there is different from is not a Jove one. It's a different simulation. So you've got 2 options there for that atomic emission spectroscopy lab there. You've got the Jove version, and then you've got this. And Katie, I think, found this simulator, and it works fine. So yeah, we kind of worked on that one collectively.
Lee, thank you. Gary, is this the one that you were looking at that you found really useful and helpful? I think you're muted. Oh, Gary wrote, I've downloaded some of these yesterday and I will use in my 161 and my 163.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. They look pretty good. And yeah, all those little reactions and a whole bunch of stuff there. Very useful. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. And Lee, thanks for being willing to share this. Even done is better than perfect. Are there any questions for Lee or Katie about these materials that they've posted? Lee and Katie, thank you for your work. So we've got some organic chem materials in here for Chem 263, it looks like, and I'm a nutmeg soap lab, and I'm just wondering if the person who posted these would have capacity to just take the mic and share.
Yeah, that was me, Jeffrey Engel at Tacoma Community College. So a couple of weeks before the term started, I frantically went into lab with my cell phone and filmed what students would normally do. And I made many videos and then just included my regular post labs and lab handouts, and anybody's welcome to use them. Some stuff still isn't fully edited yet for the videos, but I'll add them in as soon as they're done.
Thank you. Thank you. Any comments or questions? Jeffrey, it looks like you posted a lot of materials, and I'm really grateful to you for being willing. Thank you so much, especially because I know obviously all of it is a challenge, but especially OChem. So thank you for stepping into the void. What about the chemical reactions lab? Is the person who posted these available to say a few words?
Yeah, that was another one I found also, Jennifer.
Gary, you posted these?
No, I found those yesterday that I downloaded and will be using.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Oh, Gary,
Yeah.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to whoever posted these. One, I'm realizing a limitation is that it's hard for me to tell who posted what. So, oh, look, it's a video. Oh my goodness. Okay. It's very exciting. Okay. So that's what's in the Canvas shell. And I'm wondering if, are there other folks who, after we've been looking at this, who are like, oh, I have things I could share? Tara says, hooray for chemical reactions. Okay, so Suki, yes, you have things you can share. And again, you know, like we have time, you know, over, you know, to kind of think about the organization of the shell. But for now, if you have something to share, just share it, and just trust that we will be really grateful for your work and your labor. And as Lee said, this really will require everybody kind of working together to just share what they have. Especially, I think this will become more and more important as we move through COVID-19, especially if we have to continue teaching in remote conditions. So there's also kind of an invisible silver lining that I think Suki sort of has addressed, which is right now the different numbers and the different way that these courses have evolved in different departments across the institution, that this will give us a chance to kind of come onto the same page in terms of courses and content and concepts without putting everybody into a rigid straitjacket of you have to do this or you're not part of the team. You know, like how you get like that kind of consistency and coherence without while privileging innovation, creativity, the different departments and cultures is a trick. And I think this is one way to do that. Tommaso, you have something about a cure style lab. I know that there is a lot of sustained interest over cures. Could you just vocalize what you wrote in the chat?
Sure. If any one of us are working on those, I'm still going to hold strong to trying to have some element of course embedded undergraduate research in my Chem 163. So I've decided to have students basically do literature searches, learn how to read journal articles, and then create a research proposal by the end of the course in the vein of a grant proposal. And they'll do that as a group project. So that's sort of the details I haven't figured out yet, but that's what I've committed myself to. So if anybody has any ideas or wants to talk about that kind of dimension, I'd be more than happy to work on a subgroup or chat or whatnot.
So I think that's a perfect segue into, let me just figure out how to present my slide again. That might be a perfect segue into next steps. And before that, Marie has posted in the question, this is an excellent question, what's a cure style lab? Tommaso, could you talk a little bit about cures and undergraduate research?
Sure. So cures are course embedded undergraduate research experiences. So the idea is to try to develop more authentic research experiences. Typically, these have been reserved for independent research projects at the upper years. But I was converted quite a long time ago that Gen Chem students can do this even in their freshman year, and it's based on the freshman research experience at the University of Texas, Austin. So I've retooled my Chem 163 where students work on a research project over the course of the quarter and then develop a poster. Now, online, you can't do a research project in lab, but last year I taught a journal club style course where I taught students how to critically read peer-reviewed journal articles. And so basically, I'm just going to get them into the literature sooner than later and do little mini journal clubs and then present a research proposal where they have to actually talk about the instrumentation and experiments they would do. And that's a way for them to think about the experimental aspect of it without necessarily getting into lab. Oh, you're muted, Jennifer.
Thank you for voicing that. And I know a lot of people are familiar with undergraduate research. And again, cures, to my understanding, is a more, it's kind of a specific, it's sort of like there's lots of different workshops on assignment design, and TILT is just one way to kind of get a handle on assignment design. And one thing I do want to say is that a lot of this work that we're doing right now is preparing us for the larger conceptual shifts of a guided pathways redesign. And so one of the biggest pieces for me as an educator with guided pathways is the opportunity for inquiry, the opportunity for undergraduate research, the opportunity for students to have like capstone experiences embedded. And so I really love the idea that this would also be a great way to collaborate around how different people are embedding undergraduate research opportunities, as well as the interdisciplinary experiences like Kaylin was describing. So my not so secret agenda with guided pathways is to use it to get to do all the things we want to do, but there's never time or money. So I just wanted to put that out there. So there's some really great comments in the chat. And Lee, also thank you for letting the person in the waiting room into the chat or the room. I really appreciate it. So one thing I guess I wanted to ask is, as we move forward, like for our next meeting, would people like to have a more informal kind of like what's happening for you meeting, kind of like the way we did it this way? Would you like to have an online training? And I just threw out a couple that I know are of interest, but I think maybe doing something more focused on undergraduate research might be interesting next week or in a couple weeks when people feel ready for it. Another topic that's come up is, maybe me inviting Bo Young to just help us figure out how to share things in a good way that will be useful for the long-term success of this group. So I'm just wondering, I think my first question is, do folks want to meet again next week? And if so, what would you like? What sounds fun or interesting to you? So Jenny, yeah, there is a lot of Zoom meetings, and I hear you on being saturated. And so, being able to join when you can, I totally hear you on that. Okay, so Gary, the training aspect would be good, and Lori, this style is working well. Yeah, Suki, I like what we did today. Yeah, and again, I do think it's important to kind of touch base. One thing that we didn't get to talk about are people's mental health, people's physical health and their mental health. I know that there was some discussion in here about early on about challenges like a lot of times sitting, ergonomics, kind of general overwork. Yeah, Jenny, LOL, what mental health? Yeah, Tara wrote, I've been physically breaking down. Me too. I'm really empathetic to this. And so, you know, even sometimes just taking a check-in, you know, just about how are people making time and space for their mental health. And Jeff also said maybe have breakout rooms based on subject for Gen Chem, OChem. I love that idea, and we could totally do breakout groups by topic. That would be awesome. I would need to do a little bit of research. I haven't actually used the breakout rooms yet, but I would be happy to investigate that before we meet again. So I think maybe I'll just continue to process and ponder what I've heard today and think about what to do. But I love this idea of maybe breakout rooms. So folks who want to do a more informal check-in can do that. Folks who want to dive into OChem could do that. So let's think about that. And I know that we're a little bit over, so it's 12:02. So I think what I'll do is I'll say thanks to everyone for being willing to share, both what's working, what's not working, challenges, also people, you know, being willing to share what they posted to the Canvas shell, and also I really appreciate this. So yeah, so we'll definitely do breakout rooms next week. I'll think about the topics and then figure out a good way to get people into those breakout rooms. I can figure that out before next week. So next week at 11, for those who can join.
Jennifer, don't forget to add Joanna to the list.
Thank you. I will not.
Okay.
Yeah, and also I'll just say too that so in the Canvas shell, sorry, let me just escape out of here. Why is it not escaping? It's not letting me escape. Oh my goodness. There we go. So I will say in here at the very top, I have the list of all of our emails, and this is an open Google Doc, so you can add people to it.
I think I came across that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then also you are all teachers, so you can add people to the Canvas shell. And so I just wanted to let you know too, I'm always happy to help, but also if it just feels like one more thing to do, you can just add folks. All right. Well, thank you everyone for your valuable time today. Thank you. These definitely are keeping me sane. And I'm just so grateful to have this opportunity to get to know all of you better. All right.
Yes, thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Yeah, I'm going to stop the recording.
I think, Jennifer, we met before.